my zone, on the road to the Super Bowl. Every game on the schedule crucial, it take a toll. It don't matter if we at home or on the road. You try to tackle, I'll truck a sucker and take it so.
Welcome in, Cowboys Nation, to Cowboy Game Day Live, Week 8. We are live here at Kanvas Sports and Social. What an unbelievable start to the games and finish, I should say. It's your boy Skywalker still, Jesse, Holley. We're back at it, man.
Yes, sir.
Been an eventful pre-show to the pre-show to the pre-game show. Wow. Just literally seconds ago, the Washington football people, Hail Mary, Jaden Daniels, 15 seconds in the pocket. Man. Last play of the game, they get the tip to Noah Brown of all players to move to 6-2, beating the Bears there. What a freaking game.
You know what? I tweeted this out early, and I said the Bears deserve to lose. They deserve to lose.
They did deserve to lose. If you guys didn't see, they tried to do a handoff to an offensive lineman.
They tried to do a fullback dive to the offensive lineman. Ball hit him in the chest. The Washington Commanders recovered. They didn't do nothing with the ball, gave it back to Chicago. They came back down and scored. Took the lead anyway. But when you do stupid stuff like that,
ball don't lie.
Yeah, ball don't lie. ball don't lie. Ball up top, game over.
Game over. Hey, before we get going, it's been crazy.
It's about to get crazy.
It's about to get crazy. We got some things we got to talk about.
We got some things we got to talk about.
But I'd be remiss. Is it remiss?
Yeah, you got it.
I'll be remiss if Cowboys, 49ers, we talk about ball not lying, if I didn't do this.
Now he's got Holley all alone at the 50.
Hold on. You got to hear it.
Holley to the 20. Right to the 15. 10. Drag down at the 2. Jesse Holley with 77 yards. It must be a reality show.
It must be a reality show. I can never get tired of it, man.
That's good.
You live in cowboy lore, bro.
Thank you.
Like, it doesn't matter what happens for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. If you are alive, when that happened, you will remember that play. How does that feel, bro?
Man, I'm always thankful, to do something in life that people remember forever, right? And that's important. That's important to me. And football was something that gave me a new lease on life. I come from nothing, and the game of football took me to great places. And that play and the significance of that play. If you guys don't know my story, head on over to YouTube after you watch our pregame show, and just watch the documentary they did on me, and it tells you about that play. But everything leading up to that particular play in my life, and so I'm always so thankful that for that moment. And I go down and like you said, Cowboy history for that play, and I'm synonymous. Whenever you speak about the Cowboys and great games, that play always comes to people's mind.
It was an unbelievable game that, if you remember what happened, Tony Romo going out, punctured lung, returning to the game,
broken ribs,
punctured lung, and then performing and doing that, throwing that ball to you.
Yeah.
And I just think, given what has happened before the game today, thinking about that specific time frame, players playing injured and players playing under certain circumstances that maybe they shouldn't have or what have you. I think about both of these teams today. Cowboys, 49ers are banged up.
Yeah.
The 49ers, quickly, because they're the Niners, we're talking Cowboys here, they will be getting a couple their guys back. George Kittle, who didn't miss any games, but he didn't know, day-to-day, had the foot, he's active. No Ayuk in this game, no Christian McCaffrey in this game, so you won't see them.
No Juwan Jennings either.
Juwan Jennings, that's a big one too. Juwan has been their best receiver this year from a production standpoint. But Deebo Samuels, who just last week, I guess something happened at the stadium, and he came down with pneumonia and had fluid in his lungs 6 days ago, is now active and playing in this game. Okay? But then we get to the Cowboys side, and that's where things get really, really weird. Okay, let's talk about the inactives, the obvious inactives. Micah Parsons, Kalen Carson, Andrew Booth, Matt Willetsko, Trey Lance. Those inactives don't surprise anyone. Micah is slowly but surely creeping back into playing. Maybe we'll see what happens next week. High ankle sprains usually go 4 to 6, 4 being on the good side, right? 6 being on the cautious side. We'll see what happens next week. But, and I got to press this button.
That's a perfect button to press. That is an absolute perfect button to press.
Jesse, I'm sorry if this kind of carries the show because this is just so mind-boggling to me.
This is big.
So let me just set this up. A couple days ago, Dalvin Cook, they asked Coach about Dalvin Cook, Coach Mike McCarthy, and he says, man, he looks great. He's ready to go. We're gearing towards that. And it was an inkling around the start that he would play. Yeah. Then yesterday they get it. He's called up. Yep. So Dalvin Cook has been called up to play today. He's going to have his debut for the Cowboys for the first time this season. During that time frame, you were public about, well, who the heck sits down? A lot of Cowboys fans were saying, well, who sits down? Well, Rico Dowdle's RB1. Right. Hunter Lipke is a part of this offense, period. He is in so many packages and plays special teams. Zeke wasn't really getting many carries, but then he led the team in carries last week. And then there's Dalvin Cook. Deuce Vaughn ain't playing, so we ain't got to put him in the category. So the question became who, right? Who? And it kind of led towards, okay, it feels like Zeke will probably get this inactive tag this week, or they're going to carry 4 backs, which they did a few times this year. You were leaning towards probably Zeke, right? Yeah. A lot of people were thinking Ezekiel Elliott, don't think they were going to carry 4. Well, Rico Dowdle, and I want to show you this tweet because it's very strange. Nick Harris said, the Cowboys announced Rico Dowdle came down with something upon arriving at the stadium. He was seen in the tunnels walking in the stadium looking just fine and rapping along to songs as he was listening to. Must have happened after getting in the locker room. He's listed as questionable, and as we know now, Rico Dowdle is out. Inactive, no longer team. What the hell do we make of that?
This team, we consistently talk about the drama, the distractions, the things that weirdly happen around the name of the Dallas Cowboys, and add this one to the list because this is weird. Yeah. I don't know what other to call this, and you know, I don't want to speculate, and I don't want to do it, but this is weird. This is one of those deals where you're going, he must have contracted something in the locker room. Like, I don't know a sickness that comes in minutes. Right. When people have seen him get off the bus and walk into the stadium, and then within minutes he is sick. Like that part, and I seriously joke when I say it, but I'm serious when I say there's really good drugs in that equipment, that medical room.
We just talked about Tony.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's really good drugs in the medical room for every NFL team. So to hear now that a player developed what sickness, right? Because if it's stomach, they got stuff for stomachs. If it's bowel movement, they got stuff to kind of hold you over bowel. And football players in general are naturally really, really tough dudes. Even last week, we talked about it, briefly in the pregame, where Deebo Samuels went to the hospital with walking pneumonia and fluid on his lungs. But he suited up and played 4 snaps before he was like, hey, this ain't feeling right. So I am puzzled, to say the least, about this new development with Rico Dowdle basically minutes before the game starts. Yeah, I mean, quite literally an hour and a half before he's inactive. And I'm pretty sure the beat reporters down there are trying to get answers, and we'll get answers after the game maybe this week. I know one thing. When they interview Rico, he's very candid. He doesn't hold anything back, so we'll know what happens. And on top of that, let me just also say that. Like, what also makes this fishy is if you just hit the rewind button. So a couple weeks ago, 4 weeks ago to be exact, but I ain't hurt. So now when you hear that and you see this situation happening, it's one of those deals where I don't have the answer, you don't have the answer, but this feels really, really, really fishy. Well, I mean, usually you say if your starting running back is not playing, you would be like, oh, well, man, that changes things, or you have to look at how they're going to run the ball or how they're going to deploy the running back room differently. Well, we know how they're going to do it. Ezekiel Elliott's likely going to be RB1 for this game. I highly doubt that is going to be Dalvin Cook in his first matchup, right? So Zeke's going to be a starter. Dalvin Cook is likely going to be in tandem with him. I would imagine Deuce Vaughn, maybe. We'll see. They only went with 3, so maybe they'll just continue to go with 3. But, with Dalvin Cook only having no games played with the Cowboys,
Would it shock you if they kept Deuce up just in case he's still figuring things out, or you think it's just going to be Zeke, Rico, and Hunter Lipke?
I would say if defensively you were kind of healthy, like if you had a full complement of players over there.
And I'm sorry, Deuce is active. So I'm sorry. I meant he's actually active. I just thought.
We've had the long discussion about what Zeke has left. Of course, his dad came out earlier this week and talked about, for 10 grand, show me. And folks were jumping on that. And I don't think he was really ready to get that 10 grand.
Well, I'd say that ain't happening.
Yeah. From a personal experience. And then you look at, okay, well, we know Deuce Vaughn doesn't have enough to be in there, because if he did, he would have been in there long before. And now you want to see what Dalvin Cook may have. So I don't know how this thing is going to work, bro. Like, I just don't know how this thing is going to work, and you're going up against a pretty stingy front when it comes to actually running the football. So you got two backs who really don't have much left in the tank, and you got a really small back. You'll probably try to do some gadget stuff with him. So this is weird.
Let's talk about what they need to do. We don't know what they're going to do, right? But we need to talk about what they do. And for me, Jesse, and again, this may not happen because we haven't been good running the ball, but you're going up against a defense that has had Dak Prescott's number. Fred Warner, this week, one of my key matchups was Dak Prescott versus Fred Warner, because Fred seems to just know exactly what the hell is about to happen all the damn time.
He's a good player, man.
He's a Hall of Fame trajectory. So what I'm getting at is, I personally would like to see more balance so that everything isn't on Dak's shoulders, which we've been asking for that a lot this year, and only one game did we get that. It would be nice if you can find some type of positive momentum with the Zeke and with the Dalvin Cook, Hunter Lipke, whomever. But then the question becomes, Cowboys Nation, Jesse Holley, do you have any damn confidence that they can even establish that?
Up to this point, there's nothing that is giving you success. You saw a little bit of it against Pittsburgh, where Rico kind of got things going, had 85 yards rushing, but this offensive line has struggled. And they subbed out Tyler Guyton and put in Tyler Smith at left tackle.
They're going back, I think, to Tyler Smith or Tyler Guyton now.
Back to Tyler Guyton. And this is a kid whose confidence now is a little bit shaken. Because once you come out of a game and they put another guy in there, that may shake your confidence a little bit. So this is going to be an interesting proposition for what the Niners do up front. They really only rush 4. They do a lot of twist in the middle with their defensive tackles and their defensive ends at times, where they're trying to get that center sometimes to have to choose a side. So for Cooper Beebe, this is going to be a situation where he's going to have to be on his P's and Q's, and those guys on the interior has to be right, because somehow, some way, whether it's going to be Leonard Floyd on Guyton or Nick Bosa on Steele or vice versa, they're going to try to create those one-on-one matchups to get pressure on Dak Prescott from the outside.
All the more reason why it'd be nice to be able to complement the pass game this week with the run game, then use some play action. But one thing I talked about, all week in watching the film against teams that have had success against the 49ers, you got to use at-snap motion. You got to use pre-snap motion. You have to get these guys thinking, because this is a vision defense, Jesse. Yeah. And, those vision defenses, if they could just drop back into their spots and just not have to think about, oh, snap, they went from a 3-by-1 to a 2-by-2, and I got new responsibilities, or a concept that puts pressure on the corner, the deep safety, and they could just sit there. It's going to be a long – get ready for the picks for Dak Prescott. Yep. Get ready for the sacks that come. Just get ready for it, because there's no creativity pre or post. And I promise you guys, it's all over the film. The Vikings did it against them. At-snap motion, putting pressure on the safeties. You saw the Rams do – that's what the Rams do. Granted, Vikings, Rams, right? O'Connell, McVay. This is what these guys do. But there's a coaching term. I think it's a coaching term. I brought this up this week. If I see you do it once – I know you can do it again, right? I seen the Cowboys go out against Pittsburgh and use orbit motion, exit motion, pre-snap motion, misdirection. I saw them do that. Did they do it at a heavy, super high rate? No, but more than they've done this year. So I'm going to need that gameplay. We talked about packing it up and bringing it back to Dallas. They didn't do that. I'm going to need them to bring it to San Fran, where they use some more of that at-snap stuff. And you did it. The big play you had on them last year with, who was Turpin?
Yeah.
It was with that. It was at-snap motion, getting them a free release for a big touchdown. So if they're going to remain stagnant, to me, Jesse, I think we're in for a long day on offense.
Yeah, and this particular Niners defense, the one thing when I watched film on them this week, the thing that stuck out to me the most was over the last couple of years, and this could be because they're consistently changing defensive coordinators.
Yeah,
they're going to get higher. They get
5 years.
So it isn't as sharp. It has not been. I mean, Dre Greenlaw's not there. Fred Warner's still Fred Warner. But the overall defense, when you have to, where they mess up at, or they kind of have struggle at, when they have to pass guys off. When guys are, like you said, at snap motion, where guys are doing mesh routes, when they have to pass guys off, because they're heavy zone coverage defense. So now when they start to pass guys off through the zones from one side to the next, that's when you kind of see a little bit of confusion happen, and that's when you can hit some plays. You saw it in Seattle. You saw it against Minnesota. You saw it against other teams where they were able to have some success. Arizona had some success with it as well. So for the Cowboys, you have to find a way to get the Niners defense, who wants to sit back and eye the quarterback. They want to look at the eyes of Dak Prescott, see what your formations is, and then be able to read and react off that. The biggest problem from the offensive side for the Cowboys is the adjustment to the Cowboys want to run a bunch of man concepts and a bunch of man routes into zone coverage.
The slants, they like to run, the slant flat stuff, the hooks, all that stuff is going to play right into what they do.
Right into with their hands.
You know, one thing that they have not done well this year, and really honestly, just McCarthy's scheme doesn't really design it unless there's seam shots. The middle of the field, right? Like when you see success. Teams have success against the Niners this year more than ever across the middle of the field because they're getting tight ends doing overs. They're getting their number two in a bunch stack getting over while the number one's running at the safety to push them back. And now Fred Warner's having to deal with an under route. The Kansas City Chiefs did a fantastic job 2 times getting Noah Gray. Okay, your backup tight end, the second tight end, Noah Gray. Huge plays based off a scheme. And they didn't even do pre-snap motion. It was just based off of, hey, we're going to send Kareem Hunt at your underneath backer, which was at that time, I think it was Devondre Campbell. So he's pulled up in his zone. We're going to send the wide receiver, Xavier Worthy. Hey, just put the Jets on.
Right.
So when you put the Jets on, the corner's like, I got to go. And the safety's like, I got to go. And next thing you know, there's this whole area for Noah Gray to just settle in. Boom, 27 yards. Same thing. You talked about them struggling with mesh. All right, we're going to put Travis Kelce and Kareem Hunt on a mesh route, and we have Fred Warner tripped up. He went with He went with Travis, then he tried to pick up Hunt. Oh, snap. There goes Noah Gray right behind me for 22 yards. You have to be creative against these boys. You have to attack them in the middle of the field. Dallas hasn't done it, but if it was the first time for anything this year, this would be it against this team. You cannot be who you've been for most of the year, in my opinion.
And for it to be National Tight Ends Day, today would be a great day for Jake Ferguson, because I said this on my shows all week. I felt like coming into this year, I know that I spoke about Tolbert taking that next step, but I just assumed that when you hear the Travis Kelce's of the world and the Kittles of the world, and they say, man, that kid in Dallas, he's the next one. I just assumed that he was going to take that next step.
He liked that. They just got to get him going.
That's what I'm saying. Like I assumed that he was going to take that next step and emerge as one of those big-time candidates from the tight end position. And they just he's gotten some activity, but he just hadn't quite gotten to that point where he's in that conversation with those guys.
Oh, no. He's going to need some years, I think, to do that.
Right, but
I thought he was going to have an all-pro year this year.
I did, too.
You know what I'm saying?
And right now, it doesn't feel like that.
You know why?
I'm listening.
They're not featuring him like that.
That's what I was looking for.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the words I was looking for. Featuring him.
They're not featured. They're just saying, like, Jake, you part of this thing.
Right.
Nah, I need Jake to be, here's CD, here's Jake.
Yeah.
If you do that, then you're designing things. Because teams are paying attention. But teams are paying attention to Jake. They're doubling him and stuff. But when you're running, shouts out to my bro Vach. When you're telling Jake, run down the field and turn around.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Jason Witten route.
I'm sorry. That's not going to do nothing. Jake can actually run routes, man. He can put something on somebody, running over a route. Let him drag a little bit, see if this linebacker can run with me to hit a whip on it. He hit Fred Warner last year with a rip route for like 15 yards. Like, let him get busy. The only time I really let him get busy, a seam.
Right.
Like, and that's a great whatever, right? Dak could throw that amazingly, but we need to expand the palette of this playbook a little bit.
You're not going to run
man.
9 seams to him a game. No. You know what I'm saying? Like, a seam should be added part to what he does.
Tight end
screens, run the sail routes, run the over routes, like you said, all that other stuff that he could do. Get him the ball, like you want to lift some things up, use some vertical routes, and then let him work underneath with the linebackers or whoever that may be. And now, if it's a cornerback, cool. I'm not worried about him really wanting to tackle me down for down. That's an 8-yard catch turned into a 15-yard gain. So those type of things, and I think that's the perfect word to use, is truly featuring Jake Ferg in this offense, in this passing game. I think that would do wonders for other guys like Tolbert, like CD, to get them a little bit more separation so guys aren't hugging on them so much. Because I always talk about the percentages. And I was talking with Barry Church, who's former Dallas Cowboy and Jacksonville Jaguar safety, and we talked about the percentages. And the thing is, it's like, well, if you hit Jake one time, we'll live with that. We'll live with that. We're going to go, well, eventually you're going to come back to 88, or you're going to come back to the things that we've seen you become comfortable with.
Right.
And so teams play the percentages and say, we'll give that up once, but if you feature him and you dominate over here, now we have to adjust to this. And when we adjust to this, that allows you now to have that open space back to the guy that you originally wanted to go to in 88. But teams they're not threatened by anyone else.
Kirby Joseph literally said
like
it.
They're like, again, okay, if he gets a catch, if Tober finishes the game and he has 3 for 37, they're like, okay.
And I think that's because we're not strategically using the other. Like Ferg can be a guy who say, he's a guy. We gotta watch him. Like Turpin is not a guy, but Turpin has the ability to say, he can get deep. We better make sure we have somebody back here. So now you got room. We don't feature them enough, or at least have plays or packages enough to where teams respect it. That's why Kirby Joseph can say, hey man, I'm just worried about 88.
That's it.
That's it. This is a perfect segue right now, though. It's time for our fantasy football pick'em, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Join the millions and millions of fantasy football players around the world that are now playing Underdog Fantasy Sports. And today we do our pick'em. And we talked about Jake. It is National Tight Ends Day.
It is.
It was only right I put Jake on here. But I have a confession. I thought this was a touchdown for the game. It's actually higher or lower touchdown in the first half, Jesse. So kind of messed that one up a little bit. So Cowboys Nation, Jesse Holley, Jake Ferguson, is he going to get a touchdown or is he not in the first half of this game?
I'm going to say yes.
I got him higher. So
I'm going to say higher. I'm going to say because you got to get him going. And this is the team, if they have a weak spot in their defense, it's down the middle of that football field.
Down the middle of that field, man.
And this is the great time to get and you get Jake going down the middle of that field, it also will help out your running game a little bit because those linebackers have to respect that a little bit more. Yeah. So I'm gonna go higher.
I got higher as well. Again, I know, all jokes aside, National Tight End Day, been about 14 tight end touchdowns a day. So let's get Jake going again. Now we know Kittle. We'll talk about him in a second. He had 3 of them things on you last year, so we don't want him to get there. Brandon Aubrey. Higher or lower 7.5 kicking points. I don't care if they put 70.5 kicking points. Brandon Aubrey, higher. Book it. How can he not? How can it not be?
The Cowboys score.
The Cowboys don't score a lot in the red zone. Yep. I don't really trust them. I hope they change it around. So if they're not scoring in the red zone and they get anywhere within 60 yards, Brandon Aubrey's getting 3.
Yeah, I mean that's he's gonna kick at least 2 field goals, and if they 2 touchdowns maybe. If that's 3 field goals, that's 6, 7, 8.
Exactly.
So
all you need is either 3 field goals, because he did that last week, 47-9, or like you said, 2 tutties and 1 field goal or 2 field goals, and that gets him to 7 and over 7.5.
Yeah,
so I got higher.
Yeah, I want you higher on that one.
And then finally, as we segue here in a second to the Cowboys defense against the Niners offense, Jordan Mason, the not Cowboys, Niners running back that's having a ton of success right now. Higher or lower, 17.5 rushing attempts.
Oh,
I got higher too.
He might actually double that.
Now, he hasn't hit it though in the last 2 weeks. But I'm with you. I think without Brandon Ayuk, Debo a little hobbled, you're going against a team that can't stop the run that well. How does he not touch the rock at least 18 times on the ground?
And I like to believe that. I like to believe that Kyle Shanahan is one of the premier coaches in this league right now, and he watches film. He watches film. And I also find it funny because one thing that the Cowboys have struggled with, we always said, guys from the Kyle Shanahan tree.
We play in the tree.
You got the trunk.
We playing the roots.
You got daddy. You got daddy. This is daddy. This is daddy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I'm like, if nothing else, he's called some of his disciples and said, what you got for me? Hey, run these, run this, run. Like, this is daddy. This is all the children that you have had issues with, all the branches that you have issue with. You got to deal with the big boss now. You got to deal with daddy.
The final boss.
The final boss. This daddy. So I find it very hard to believe that 17 and a half isn't greater. Easy. Might be in the first half. Honestly, talk about first half numbers.
The way we'll get to here in a second. The way Brock Purdy has been playing, I think they're going to try to calm him down and run this ball a lot. I got higher here. And they do have a young buck, Isaac Guerrero, who I like. He might get some totes too, but definitely I can see him finishing this thing with 27 carries and not 17 carries, man. So that's been our Game Day Pick'em Cowboy Nation, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy Sports. Use your projections to win real cash by playing the #1 fantasy platform, Underdog Fantasy. Reminder, use our promo code ATOZDALLAS for a deposit match when signing up. It's right there in the link. You don't have to go far, or you can hit up our socials and comment and join Underdog Fantasy today. Okay, switching things up here on the other side of the ball. I came into this week saying, with all the injuries happening with the 49ers, from a player-to-player standpoint, the playing field leveled some. They go in here with Ayuk and CMC and Kittle and Debo. The playing field, I think, is drastic, right? Now, the playing field may have leveled some, but here's where my concern was. Yeah, you're without guys. They're without guys, too. They're not playing all that great ball right now. Quarterbacks turn the ball over. But they do things offensively that you have not been good at defensively, and that's where my concern is. So where I'm getting at is coaching, scheme. Here are the three things, Jesse. They run the ball well. Mm-hmm. You don't defend the ball.
Correct.
They do a lot of pre-snap, at-snap motion. You're one of the worst teams in dealing with pre-snap, at-snap motion. They attack the middle of the field. You've been the worst team defending the middle of the field. Gonna need to flip one of those things, Jesse. I think I know your answer, but if you had to pick which one that you need to absolutely be your best at, stopping the run, middle of the field stuff, at-snap stuff, which one is it for you?
Man, it starts in the trenches, bro. If you can't stop the run, and we've seen it, in the three losses for the Cowboys, and I wrote that down. In the three losses for the Cowboys, they've averaged given up 216 yards rushing, and 9 rushing touchdowns in those 3 losses. So if you're giving up 206 yards a game in your 3 losses, like that's line item number
game.
1.
Like, you can't win. You cannot win football games like that.
That's line item number 1, and they have yet to show you any resistance against the good teams. And like I said before, you facing daddy now. You facing daddy, and the way that they run things. Another team that gets to that they want to get to that second level, and so they run these different type of run plays, these split zones. I've become a really big fan of the tight end coming back. You call it a wedge block, you can call it a cutoff block, whatever.
Energy kind of not feeling it, bro.
Yeah. So all those type of things, and you see this, you see them giving you the misdirections. But they wanna have Mason stretch, put your foot in the ground. It looks like he's going outside. He puts his foot in the ground, come right back up the A and B gap for positive yards, and that's just because that toss, to me, when I watch it, that toss allows linemen to get on blocks. It gives them a second to make, okay, now you have to declare. Once you declare, now as he's coming forward, we're able to up and move and get to those second level blocks. And for Mason, right now he leads the league in broken tackles.
Yep.
It's 53 broken tackles, and the Cowboys, when they are tackling, they miss 15.8% of tackles when they're in a position to tackle.
They, in those losses that you talked about, were probably the worst tackling team in the National Football League. So they have to tackle Jordan Mason. He's not the same runner as Christian McCaffrey.
No.
He's different. He's more powerful. He's more downhill. He can make you miss. And again, I'm not saying he's this player, but I did tweet this out. He reminds me of Marshawn Lynch and how he makes you miss.
Yeah.
Marshawn, now he definitely juked up a couple people in his time, but Marshawn is just literally get off of me. all right, running you over, just straight power. And Jordan Mason kind of brings that. And he doesn't look, he looks unsuspecting of a guy that's going to bust off a 55, 60-yarder, but he can do that. So you got to make sure you watch out for that. So Jordan Mason tackling, wrapping up, and these linebackers at the second level are just going to have to be on their game. I just need the D tackles. And I'm not expecting to be all world. They have not been great. Okay?
Be all city.
To be all
be all block.
Be all city.
Be all the block. Be all porch. Right. Be all something.
Right.
I'm not. All world is a lot asking.
That's a lot.
I'm not asking to be all continent. I'm not asking to be all.
I need them to give their boys a chance. You know what I mean?
Be all city, man.
Shout out to Dawson.
Yeah. Shout out to Dawson.
Yeah, shout out to Dawson.
I wasn't even trying to do that.
I know, but
you're a professional. I appreciate that.
So if they can give the second level guys, you know, because I like Kendricks is coming back.
Yeah.
Right. So you get your I call him Jarvis of the defense. You get the guy who is the cerebral assassin of the defense. He knows everything. Yep. Helps get guys where they need to be. And you got some young, athletic, hungry dudes. And it comes back to the thing that's an issue. Those young guys have gotten when it comes to pre-snap motion and the misdirection. So it's you know, it's you give it to, oh man, we got Kendricks back, but it's, oh wait, they run a certain style of offense that really trips you up. Those guys got to be on a A++ game today.
And you know, you can blame the young guys, but until you actually play it, you can't. You don't understand it.
Go through that.
You have to go. Like, this is a part of.
Yeah.
Talking about the bumps and bruises of learning the game of football. And while Overshown will make some plays and Maris will make some plays, you ain't seen the daddy yet. You know, and that's the biggest thing that I think sometimes people just miss. When you struggled against the tree,
right?
The daddy gonna really make you hurt. And next year they'll be better. Overshown will be better at this. Luafau will be better at this. But right now, you have this youthful inexperience. You have the energy and the effort to go downhill, but sometimes you're a little bit slowed up because you're like, oh damn, I went 100 miles an hour this way, and they going that way, or they trapped me, they messed me up, they had me looking at one thing because learning.
Or you're thinking all that, and they run straight power at you.
And they right. Now you're like, oh snap, and you stuck. And now you got a running back coming right at you. Yeah. You gotta eat that tackle or whatever, what have you, because there are keys. There are keys to what linebackers look at. Hey, what is that guard doing? A lot of time it's the guard. They're looking at what the guards are doing to their side. So if that guard pulls out, then hey, I'm flowing this way. And even with the Niners, sometimes they'll have that guard go right, and they going back left. So they use different things to throw you off, and throw you off by using the keys that you're supposed to be using as launching points of what's happening in front of you. So it makes the younger players slow to get in there, and it all flows back to, boy, it would be great if our defensive line gave us some penetration, made those backs have to jump a hole or two to allow those speedy linebackers to now refine their spot and get downhill and make the tackle.
We're talking so much about the run game, man, because it truly starts there. And if you can at least put the ball in Brock Purdy's hands. Brock Purdy hasn't been that clean quarterback that he's been in the last few seasons with the 49ers. He's run around. He scrambles very well. I would like to keep him in the pocket in this game and make him beat you from the pocket without Brandon Ayuk there, without Jawan Jennings there, with questionable interior offensive line. But if he scrambles around, you have to now play above the 2.3. You got to cover twice, and Cowboys haven't been good at that. If you cannot get home and he is able to sit clean in the pocket, your guys are going to have to defend the middle of that field. They're going to send a bunch of intermediate routes over there, and we saw in Saints game and all the games really where teams have, even the Giants had some success throwing the ball on. They're just going to punch it in. If you can make his clock speed up, if you can make him think a little bit, if Zimmer can out-coach, right? I know, and we're about to get to something real quick. I got something on that. If we can get him to that point, which means 3rd and long, right? Mm-hmm. You have a shot now, right, to have some success. But if you are living in 2nd and short or no 3rd downs at all, 3rd and short, it could be a long day, Justin.
I will sound like I'm repeating myself, but today is also National Tight End Day.
Yeah, and their tight end, George Kittle, had 3 touchdowns on you last year, and yeah.
And so now you're gonna ask either Donovan Wilson to cover him, or you're gonna ask Maris.
None of the safeties have been doing well this year, consistently.
Right, and so now, and this is the part where it's the combo of damn, because if you give him time, Kittle will route you up, right? Like, he's going to route you up. So if you're not getting pressure on him, and you use the term the easy button,
Yep.
right? And that's what this offense gives Brock Purdy. And the way that it's schemed.
Baked in within the plays,
Within the plays, it gives him easy buttons. It gives him shots where it go, like, okay, like, we don't got to make this thing more difficult than what it is. We're not getting pressure, so I'm going to go with the ball right here. Oh, Kyle Juszczyk, he's right here in the flat. Oh, there's George Kittle right there, and he'll break a tackle. Here are all these guys that they have the easy buttons in this offense for a guy like Brock Purdy. So the Cowboys are going to have to do an exceptional job with covering, and like you said, covering again, because if you're not creating any pressure up front and he has the time to go in there, this offense it's based on timing. And if you don't hurry the timing, then a lot of times they're going to run into the open areas that you have on that defense. Because every defense, the way it's designed to give something up in hopes that they get to you before you can get to that answer. And if you're not getting pressure on Brock Purdy and they're able to allow those timings and those things to develop, then they're going to have the easy button, the easy answer, or the ways to go in that offense for them to be successful.
100%. Well said. There's a hole in every defense. You just got to be able to get to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? All right, time for Cowboys win if, Cowboys lose if. I'll start it off here. Cowboys win if, and I'm actually going to go both sides of the ball here. Okay. Offensively, they win if they have some balance, but you have to add in Dak and Zeke are back. Like, Dak and Zeke are not back, right? Like, I know, I say Dak and Zeke. Dak and, I'm sorry, Dak
CD?
and CD. I'm sorry. Dak and CD are back. CD had to sit down with Jason Garrett, right? And he never played under Jake G, so that was interesting. So he sat down with Jason Garrett, said, hey, man, everything's great, everything's good to go. We're brothers. We do this, we do that, or whatever. That's fine, okay? If y'all cool, whatever. But I need the connection on the field. Right. I need the connection on the field. If you don't have to, we don't have to be best friends off the field.
Yeah.
But I need you guys to be that duo you were last year. Y'all weren't best friends last year off the field, but y'all were the best duo in the National Football League on the field.
Yeah.
I need that back today. So if they're going to win, they're going to have some balance. And
Funny
then,
how things work when you're in a contract year. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, we bring it up in the offseason or during the season for a reason, right? Now all of a sudden you see the even more kind of whiny, but it is what it is. And then defensively, Cowboys win if Zimmer outcoaches Shanahan. That has to happen, brother. I don't think we have the horses, so he's going to have to outcoach.
You know, funny, my second half was similar to your second half. Michael from Pittsburgh.
There you go, other side coach.
I was saying Mike and Mike. Michael from Pittsburgh and then Michael from Illinois. Zimmer's from Illinois. Louis, Goyard, Gucci, Fendi, YSL, Prada,
all of it.
Chanel, name a bag.
JanSport.
Yeah, JanSport.
I don't care what kind of bag, brother. Just bring it.
Michael from Pittsburgh. Cowboys win if Michael from Pittsburgh gets so deep into this bag. Like, he has to. We have to be amazed when we come back to the post-game show about how much he was in the bag.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys lose if we have a running thing on our show this week. If Jordan Mason rushes for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, that's likely. Like that's I just told you in the 3 losses, 216 yards they've given up. It's not like it's a figure that's off base.
No, it's not out of this. It would be normally in any normal year, but the Cowboys when they've lost, they've given up over 200 yards. So you're absolutely right, man. All right, kickoff is in a few seconds. We're going to see the first of Dalvin Cook tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe we'll see him. Maybe we'll see Zeke. Who knows what we'll see tonight?
Oh, we'll definitely see Zeke.
Maybe Deuce starts.
Maybe Deuce will go off. I don't know. We'll see. But Cowboys Nation, we will see you guys at halftime for the Dave's Hot Chicken halftime show.